Welcome to D-Life, your source for a healthy diabetes life. It was long believed that insulin was made exclusively by the pancreas. Recent studies now show that the brain has its own insulin receptors and plays a big role in glucose control, combined with the fact that diabetes can also impact cognitive function. The diabetes community is giving more thought to the brain-diabetes connection. I'm here with Dr. Alan Jacobson, a Senior Vice President with the Joslin Diabetes Center and a professor with the Harvard Medical School. Welcome, Dr. Jacobson.
Thank you for having me.
So what is the diabetes-brain connection?
First of all, we know that diabetes causes changes in blood glucose level, and we know that the brain is uniquely dependent on glucose for its functioning. And we've always been concerned, therefore, about what a low blood sugar can do to the brain. Anybody with diabetes knows that temporarily their thinking, their emotions, their activities can be affected when blood sugars go low. There's been a lot of concern, though, that low blood sugars repeated over and over again could have significant consequences that are permanent. Fortunately, we're discovering that the brain isn't as, if you will, susceptible to those kind of damage as we had once been concerned about. So there are a lot of studies going on now about the effects of low and high blood sugars and how that influences the brain, its functioning, its structure, and our long-term ability to carry out things in terms of activities in school, etc.
Is there a certain or specific area of the brain that is impacted?
Well, no, it's not that there's one area or another. We do think that there's a lot of effects of the brain in the areas that are called the frontal regions and the regions that regulate our thinking and emotions. So that's what's called the front of the brain and the sides of the brain, which are also called the temporal cortex. But it's not that those are uniquely affected over other areas. We do know that insulin has effects in very specific areas of the brain. And that's led to a lot of interest in the role of insulin in thinking. For example, insulin has specific effects in the hippocampus, which for those who do studies in the area know is critically important in memory. So there's been a lot of interest in how insulin, especially type 2 diabetes, which leads to high levels of insulin for a long period of time, might lead to changes in the hippocampus, which could lead actually to memory problems.
That brings me to a question of dementia and Alzheimer's. Is there a difference between the two?
Well, yes, dementia is a general term. So dementia refers to a loss of ability to remember, to think clearly, which can be caused by many things. And in fact, several of those things are associated with diabetes. So major vessel disease, atherosclerosis, can lead to dementia. We also know that there are some kinds of causes of dementia which are related to small vessel disease, which also can be related to diabetes. It's possible even that recurrent low blood sugars over a long period of time in very old people could cause dementia. What we're also now beginning to think about is whether there's a specific role of insulin resistance, that precondition to type 2 diabetes, that may in some way, shape, or form lead to a kind of dementia that's actually Alzheimer's disease.
What can people do to reduce their risk?
Well, basically, it's sort of the same things that they're encouraged to do anyway. Good blood sugar control, avoid really bad lows, avoid highs, take care of your heart, treat your blood pressure, make sure your lipids are under control, eat, if you will, a relatively healthy diet, that is, avoid too much high-fat types of foods, eat a diet that would be recommended by the ADA or by dietitians. Those are all things you can do to prevent complications of diabetes, and they're also healthy for your brain.
Now, I know your interest is also in behavioral science.
Right.
There are some psychological factors that affect the brain with diabetes. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We know that your emotions are one of the important areas the brain regulates. And in turn, therefore, things that bother us, like having a chronic illness like diabetes, can affect our brain, but affects our lives, the way we view our lives, and what we ultimately may choose or not choose to do to take care of a disease like diabetes.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jacobson. So much great information.